Hello everyone. Today we are going to study the beautiful poem The Voice of the Rain by Walt Whitman. This poem is not just about rain, it's about life, nature, and art all woven into a simple conversation between the poet and the rain. Let's dive into it line by line. Walt Whitman, often called the father of free verse, was an American poet known for breaking traditional rules of poetry. His works are great written in free verse, especially one of his notable poems is Leaves of Grass, which focuses on capturing the natural flow of thought and speech. It celebrates nature, democracy, and the human spirit. Before getting into the line by line explanation, let's have a go through on the central idea, the theme, and poetic devices used in the poem, The Voice of the Rain. First, the central idea, the poem is a conversation between the poet and the rain. The rain introduces itself as the poem of earth, which explains the water cycle in a poetic spiritual sense. It suggests that nature has a continuous cycle of renewal and nourishment. Now, moving on to the major theme focused in this particular poem is first one, it talks about the nature and its eternal cycle. Next, interconnection of earth and sky, then art and creativity, where the art of rain is compared to poetry. Finally, we are having renewal and purification. Now, moving on to the literary devices which are majorly used in this poem. Our first one, personification. Rain speaks like a human, where the poet has given human life qualities to the rain. Next, we are having metaphor, where the rain is compared with poem of earth, where the rain introduces itself as the poem of earth, which is a metaphor. Imagery, in this poem, we can experience the visual and auditory imagery. And next, the poem is written in free verse, which means it doesn't have any rhyming scheme. And finally, we are having the symbolism. In this poem, the rain is the symbol of life giving force. Now, let's get into the line by line explanation. And who are those, said I to the soft falling shower, which, strange to tell, gave me an answer as he here translated as here translated. Here, in these two particular lines, the poet asks the rain, "Who are you?" And surprisingly, the rain replies to him. The poet calls it translated because he imagines converting its natural voice into human language which can be understood by the people. So, in these two lines, we have to focus on two important questions. Those are, why do you think the poet imagines rain speaking? What does this show about his relationship with nature? The poet begins with a question, and who are thou? This is an old fashioned way of saying, who are you? Notice the inversion said I instead of I said. It adds a poetic tone to the poem. The phrase soft falling shower personifies the rain as gentle and soothing. The tone here is curious and reverent, as if the poet is speaking to a living being, and that is the reason why the poet chose to give human language to the rain. Surprisingly, the rain replies to the poet, "Of course, this is all imagined." Walt Whitman is translating the nature's voice into human language so that we can understand what the rain is trying to say. It is all in the mind of Walt Whitman. This phrase, as here translated, is important because it shows that the poet interprets nature spiritually, converting its essence into words for us. Now moving on to the other two line. I am the poem of earth, said the voice of the rain. Eternal I rise, impalpable out of the land and the bottomless sea. Rain calls itself the poem of earth, which is the symbol of beauty and creativity. Here it describes the evaporation process where it is rising from the land and ocean in invisible form, that is impalpable, which means intangible. It highlights the continuity and eternity. In these lines, we can clearly understand that the rain is answering to the question asked by the poet. I am the poem of earth. This is a powerful metaphor. Why? Because the rain is compared with the poem of the earth. Just as a poem gives beauty and meaning to language, rain gives beauty and life to earth. The rain calls itself a poem because its presence is rhythmic, artistic, and creative, just like poetry. Now, the rain describes its journey. It says, I rise eternally impalpable, which means invisible and intangible. This refers to the process of evaporation, the water rising from land and the vast bottomless sea. The word eternal emphasizes the endless cycle of nature. Upward to heaven, whence vaguely formed all together, changed and yet the same. Here the rain goes to the sky, changes into clouds, which is talking about the process of condensation, changed yet the same. These phrases tell you the meaning that it has transformed physically, but the essence remains the same as it is in the form of water. The rain moves upward to heaven, that is sky, the sky where it forms clouds. Notice the phrase altogether changed and yet the same. This is a paradox. The rain changes form when it becomes cloud, but its essence remains the same, unchanged, that is, it is in the form of water. This reflects transformation and continuity in nature. I descend to lave the draughts, atomies, dust layers of the globe. Here, the rain returns to the earth to cleanse, lave, that is, dryness and dust. It emphasizes the role of the rain in the process of renewal and purification, the part played by the rain on planet Earth. The rain then says that I descend to lave, which means to wash the earth. It quenches the droughts, washes the dust, and revives life. Here, atomies refers to tiny particles. The word atomies comes from the root word atom, which is talking about tiny particles, which are showing how thorough the rain's cleansing is. Here, the rain is shown as a purifier and a life giver, which comes from the clouds, which comes to descend to, which comes from the clouds and cleanses the earth. And all that in them without me were seeds only, latent, unborn. So the poet is trying to say that without the rain, seeds remain unborn because there will be no germination without water. Rain gives life and growth, making earth fertile. Rain is essential for the germination. Without it, seeds would remain latent, which means hidden and dormant, unborn. This line emphasizes the dependence of life on rain. It's not just about water, it's about renewal and growth. And forever, by day and night, I give back life to my own origin. The rain explains itself selfless because day and night forever it returns life to its source, the earth and the sea. This kind of process where the rain is working day and night, the same process of water cycle is symbolizing the cycle of reciprocity in nature, where everything gives and receives to maintain the balance and make pure and beautify it for song issuing from its birthplace and after fulfillment, wandering, wrecked or unwrecked, duly with love returns. Here in the final line, the poet emphasizes on how the rain purifies and beautifies earth even though we acknowledge it or ignore it, that is wreck it or unwreck it. With this act, rain purifies the air, washes the earth, and beautifies the nature. Beyond the physical, there is also a spiritual meaning, which means rain cleanses life's impurity. Now comes a beautiful comparison. The rain says, I am like a song. A poem or a song originates from its birthplace, the poet's heart, wanders across the world after fulfilling its purpose, and then returns to the poet with love. Notice this phrase, wrecked or unwrecked, whether noticed or unnoticed, appreciated or ignored, acknowledged or unacknowledged, the poem still returns with love to the poet, that is Walt Whitman. Similarly, the rain performs its duty selflessly without expecting any kind of praise. I hope you have clearly understood the meaning of the poem. Now let's move on to the elements which are used by the poet. First is poetic comparison, where the poet is trying to compare the rain with the poem of earth using the metaphor. Both originate naturally, they go through a cycle and return purified and beautified, and both are selfless, eternal, and nurturing. Next is the message and the moral that the poet is trying to say to the world through the poem is: first, nature and life follow a cyclic process of renewal. There is the act of rain or the act of nature is always selfless, just like the rain and the poetry. It beautifies the world even if unnoticed. Finally, the poet is trying to encourage the people to show some gratitudeness towards the nature for how beautifully they act selflessly. Finally, let's come to the end of the video where we are going to focus on the important questions. Why is the rain called the poem of earth? Explain the phrase changed and yet the same. What does a record or unrecord signify? Finally, how does the poem reflect the water cycle? So, with this, we end this video. I hope you have clearly understood the concept of the voice of the rain. If you have any doubts, kindly ping me in the comment section. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, kindly hit the like button and subscribe my channel for more English related videos.